Welcome back, I'm Captain Xavier, and today I'm going over the minifigures that I acquired in Dr. Flux's collection. I have them organized by theme, and then more or less organized by chronological order, though not perfectly. You'll get the idea. Starting here in the medieval era, we have some early castle. These are like yellow castle era, early 80s, before I was even into Lego. We then have a whole bunch of forestmen, though not a whole lot of forestman hats. We did have the female forestman, which means that he had the river crossing set, but the base plate wasn't present, which is a tragedy because I love that base plate. But getting that another one of that minifigure is still pretty cool. Didn't have the bandana. She usually had a bandana. I gave her a hair. It's also not her usual head, but that was missing as well. Got a bunch more. Hopefully, I'll probably order more hats just so that I can fill them out. We then have some Crusaders, including the Crusader horse barding, which is pretty cool. I actually had more of the armored helmets than I had armor, so I only ended up having one of the armored knights. So I think I had two more of their helmets. At least, yeah, two more helmets from that era, but I didn't have any more breastplates. Then a couple of Crusaders. We had one guy just in a regular breastplate, and then one with the horse, or the lion breastplate, and then just a couple of guys that had the scale mail with the blue arms. We then had the Dragon Knight, or the Black Knights, whose emblem was a dragon, but didn't actually have anything to do with, there weren't any dragons at the time. Also had their barding, which is pretty cool. Two of the guys with that style helmet. The most of the dragon feather stuff was missing, or at least it hasn't turned up yet. It might still be on the bottom of the bin. I haven't finished sorting the Lego yet. So there are still possibly some minifigures yet to be found, but we'll see what comes up. They then had a bunch of guys in scale mail with the black helmets. Not all of the heads are the ones that actually went with them. We then had a whole bunch of Wolfpack, which was surprising because there were only two Wolfpack sets, so the Wolfpack guys showed up as bad guys in a number of other sets. But out of a whole bunch of them, most of their stuff is matching, though a lot of, again, heads are not necessarily matched because they actually used the same heads as the pirates from that era for some bizarre reason. Then had some Black Falcons, which arguably were probably earlier in the series. They might have come before the Black Knights. I know they came before, pretty sure they came before Wolfpack. But that castle was also re-released. We then had a bunch of the kings from this era, but none of the actual soldiers. Just two of the kings completed and one not completed. We then did have a bunch of Dragon Knights. We'll move on down and take a look at them. There's the wizard from that era, though he's missing his hat. I don't know if it's just haven't found it yet or it's just not in there. One guy on horseback, because that was when they introduced the horse head barding. Bunch of them. There's at least one of the dragons. I'm pretty sure there's at least two of the green dragons in there. We then get into Freight Knights, which is kind of a transitionary, in my opinion, from the more classic castle to the later stuff. But we had Freight Knights as well as their dragon. We had one complete witch, one without the right head, and then a bunch of the soldiers, including two of these guys completed and two of these guys. Though, again, not all the right heads. I tried to match heads as well I could when I could. Then we got into an era that I wish I'd gotten more of when it was available because it was a really neat era, and that was the fantasy era where they had dwarves and orcs. Very, very cool minis, very cool sets. This king, I think, is actually one of the minifigure line kings, but he just fit well in here, so I put him in here. Also, some kind of a princessy character. I don't think that's actually the dress she's supposed to have, but I didn't find that. She has a frog. Bunch of guys in heavy armor, guys in lighter armor. This is when they had the metallic metal helmets, which was really, really cool. One of the bad guys from this era, another iteration of the Dragon Knight kind of thing. He's got a neat helmet and a flail. Got a couple of skeletons I threw in there because I didn't have anywhere else really to put them. We do have one of the large dragons from this era. And I haven't found all the parts yet, but I think most of them are probably in there. I did find one of the wings. I know the other one is in there, and it has been gnawed upon, but not beyond use. He is missing his neck, so he looks kind of weird and stumpy at the moment, but hopefully his neck turns up, and as well as the wings and the tip of his tail. Then just an acre of these orcs, and that is really, really cool because I really like these orcs as a villain. And I've got a fair number of them, but this probably doubles the number that I have, if not. I definitely pretty sure I only had two of the trolls, the big trolls. I thought I might have had one of each color, and now I've got just a ridiculous number of trolls. And that does it for Castle. We then get into Pirate, and there is some excellent vintage pirate stuff here. We have two completed Redbeards, two of the female pirates, which pretty sure that means he had to have had the Black Sea's Barracuda, and I know he had the Imperial Trading Post. We thought he had the Caribbean Clipper, but I'm pretty sure he actually had the Black Sea's Barracuda. So far, for ship hulls, I've found 2 midsections, and if there's a third, well, the fact that there's 2 midsections means he didn't have the Caribbean Clipper, because that was only a 1 midsection ship, so pretty sure he had to have had that one. But a whole bunch of the classic pirates of the various types. We've got 2 of the blue Imperial Guards, 1 officer and 1 infantry. We then had kind of I think it was basically the next generation of pirates when you had like the Skull's Eye schooner and the red Imperial Guards. They had some changes in pirate design. Because he had the Imperial Trading Post, I got this mini, which is, he's not actually supposed to have a peg leg. I don't know why he has a peg leg, but he does here. This existed only 2 sets, the Imperial Trading Post and the Skull's Eye schooner, and this minifig alone goes for between $30 and $90. So, really glad to have gotten that one. They also had the pirates that had the red and black stripes instead of the red and white. That was in that section. And then a whole bunch of red Imperial Guards. A whole bunch of the officers, and then a couple of the infantry there in the back. Bunch of the Islanders. Well, we also, of course, had the Admiral, who is a fairly rare figure. I gave him a rapier. Bunch of the Islanders, which is cool. Then yet another generation of pirates. This was in, I believe, the Redbeard Runner era with the Spaniards instead of the Imperial Guard. 1 actual Spaniard. These guys are actually supposed to be pirates, but I had a whole bunch of the helmets, and I'd run out of bandanas, so I decided to turn them into Spaniards in uniforms. Why not? There is 1 of the much later era Imperial Guards. They had red and blue, but they actually had like printing on the shakos and a lot more detail on the torsos. There is 1 pirate, kind of a castaway looking character that I put together. I'm pretty sure that's not the right head, and I have no idea if that's the right bandana, but that's where I put him anyway. And then we've got 1 much later modern Imperial Guard, but I kind of threw him in here. There is 1 little pirate, little powder monkey type, cabin boy type individual. Couple of monkeys, and a chest full of treasure. A lot of gold coins and gems and stuff. Then 2 folks here in the back. I didn't know where else to put them historically. We have a gladiator and an Egyptian, but I actually have both of them complete and both of their gears, so that's kind of neat. Pretty sure this guy is also a minifig series figure as well. Now we get into the future with space. We have some classic space, including 1 with the classic space helmet that didn't actually have visors. In the Castle line they had visors for them, but in space they didn't make visors for them. And then these ones do have the visors. We have 1 original Blacktron and complete, and 1 complete original Space Police. A lot of figures are missing their visors and their helmets, so if I can get another visor, I can get another Space Police. Whole bunch of M-Tron. I decided to go ahead and complete 2 of them, and then again we have a bunch that are missing helmets or visors or heads or hands. 2nd generation Blacktron. Got 3 of them completed. 1 with the jetpack thing, which is neat. And then again, bunch missing visors. 2nd generation Space Police. 3 of them are complete other than visors. We have 1 of the chief and then 3 of the regular officers. 1 complete ice planet. 1 just missing his air tank, oxygen tank, and then 1 that's missing a bunch of parts. They did have a bunch of Aquanauts that I didn't know where else to put them, so I stuck them there. Spyrius, they kind of became the bad guys that replaced the Blacktron in the later series, and I have 1 of them complete, 1 missing a visor, 1 of the robots complete, and 1 missing hands, and then a bunch missing all sorts of parts. We then have Explorians, 1 of them mostly complete, no air tank, and then a bunch missing all kinds of parts. And then Unitron there in the back, didn't have helmets, did have visors, but no helmets. And then a couple of Insectoids, I think those ones were. He's missing his helmet, and then I think that one in the back is actually complete, because I think it's a robot. So I will probably use my own parts to fill out these. Not really interested in the Explorians, and the Explorian visor is the same color visor that actually They kept reusing that neon green visor in a lot of different minifigures. So Spyrius used it, second generation Blacktron used it, Mtron used it. These guys are supposed to have green, like a darker green visor, so they were different. But Explorians used it, but then Unitron used a dark blue, and then original ones used, I think they used light blue. That's what I gave them anyway. All right, let's move on to the last one, which is Star Wars. And there was actually a whole bunch here that I didn't have. A whole bunch of the Rebel pilots that I didn't have, the newer ones with the fancier helmets, and they were actually, characters from the movie, so I got a Porkins and a couple of the other neat ones. I got the Y-Wing pilot, I got the A-Wing pilot, I got the T-16 pilot, I got Ninon Num. I think there is a Cloud City pilot in there. Got some Imperial officers I didn't have before. Definitely didn't have these engineer guys, or Death Star troopers, or whichever ones they are. Snow troopers, scout troopers, storm troopers, TIE fighter pilots. I got a Darth Vader with a medal. I don't know why Darth Vader has a medal, but I have one of those. Bunch of Sith guys here in the back. Sand person, pretty sure I didn't have one of those. Whole bunch of droids that I'm not sure I had. A whole bunch of all the original cast: Leia, Obi-Wan, Luke, Han, C-3PO, R2-D2. Two different versions of R2-D2 there. A bunch of other R2 units and R3 units and Astromechs, what have you. Got a Hoth on a Tauntaun back there. A couple more Hoth guys, some of the earlier ones and the later ones. Endor troopers. I got a Lobot. So clearly he had a Cloud City set of some kind. And yeah, that is pretty cool. Some clone troopers. I think this is a Republic trooper. Might be a clone trooper. I'm not sure. But all around, very cool stuff. Very cool stuff. I do plan to have a Star Wars diorama. Or at least just set up to look cool. And that's going to go a long way to having that. And then finally, we have City, which even though I cannibalized a lot of body parts, this is why Toy Story gave me nightmares. Imagine that coming back to life. But I took hands and feet and heads and everything else to fill out the stuff that I actually wanted, but I was still able to complete an inordinate number of minis. We got some firefighters, some cooks, some pilots, an astronaut, a sailor, all sorts of neat stuff in there, which is kind of cool. I don't know what I will do with them. I do have a whole drawer of town figures that I should probably go through. Again, I didn't take a whole lot of care in making sure that I matched up the right heads or the right hats or anything like that. I just tried to complete figures. But yeah, very, very cool. The classic stuff, getting this particular minifigure, that was a big deal to me because that was one that I didn't have and wasn't willing to pay the money on. Getting so many of the orcs and just huge numbers of infantry, really, really cool. All that much wolf pack and forestmen are also huge to me. And getting a lot more Imperial guards. I have a lot of pirates, but I didn't have nearly enough Imperial guards. And then always getting more Blacktron. I can never have enough Blacktron. I love Blacktron. Finding the classic Space Police, that was also pretty cool because I've started doing my vintage collection in here, and what I was missing a lot of were minifigures. So yeah, this was an amazing collection, and the variety, and it's right in my era. This is the classic era that I was really, really into, and then less so towards the end. Castle, this was one that I wanted more of this, but I was a penniless college student at the time and couldn't afford any of it. But then lots of the vintage stuff from my childhood that I remember and did have plenty of. Just all in all, this was an amazing, amazing collection to get. I've acquired a couple newer collections, right, like on Craigslist or whatnot, and they were mostly newer stuff, and that didn't quite fit with my classic setup that I've got, nor with my nostalgia. So Dr. Flux You are awesome. There will continue to be more videos of me processing this collection. The next one is going to be sorting the colors. So I've been sorting it out by color. Now I'm going to be sorting it out by part type. And a couple of people have asked how I do my separation. And so I'll show the exact breakdown of what categories I separate into and why. So that'll be fun. Stay tuned for that. So quick follow-up, after having gone through my own collection and found the necessary parts, I was able to complete all of the ones that I wanted to complete. Well, not quite. It turns out I only had one red air tank, so I gave it to this guy. Which, yeah, that was kind of weird that there was only the one. But completed the Space Police, all of the M-Tron, all of the Blacktron, and all of the Space Police. True, Blacktron, second generation. So yeah, whole bunch of those will be going into my classic space vintage collection that I have, that I've slowly been building. So yeah, that'll be cool. I should probably go through my own minifigs and build as many of these series as I can as well. And yeah, very cool, very cool. Thanks for watching.